च Shrirupam sa agrajatam sahagana raghunatanvitam tam sajivam sadvaitam savadhutam parijana sahitam Krishna Chaitanya devam Shri Radha Krishna padan sahagana lalita Shri Vishakhananditamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for joining. It was such an occasion yesterday, Balaram Jayanti, the day when Balaramji appeared at the holy dham of Vrindavan. His mother Rohini Devi, the wife of Vasudev, she gave birth to Balaramji. And it's just days expected, few days, Lord Shri Krishna's appearance festival, Janmashtami. And this period, this Balaram Purnima, Janmashtami, Radhashtami, very busy in every ISKCON center. I presume it will be surely much more at your place. And there have been a lot of kind of programs, kathas, services, and many specialized services for deities, and making people connect with the movement of Srila Prabhupada. Such a wonderful festive occasion. So my wishes for Shri Krishna Janmashtami in advance, and my belated wishes for Balaram Purnima. And
Prabhuji, just to let you know,
yes.
sorry to interrupt you, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
On behalf of Gachibowli Satsang, we are celebrating Janmashtami in 17 gated communities, Prabhuji.
My God, great.
All our devotees planning. Yes, under the dynamic leadership of our Siksha Guru, His Grace Leon Prabhu. So we are talking in 17 communities.
17 communities. It's really amazing how you are spending. Wonderful. Very great. I can just begin to imagine what kind of services you will all have. A little, maybe I may try to understand. But yeah, all of you are doing a great service. Please carry on wonderfully. I'm so blessed to have all of your association in understanding Bhagavadgita here. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I'm very grateful that all of you took out time for these sessions. And we will today continue from where we had left off last time. Last time we had started the introduction. We had come halfway through. Today we will complete it. Krishna willing, we may even go a little ahead than that to the first chapter. So let us offer our prayers to Lord Shri Krishna, the speaker of Bhagavad Gita. Prapanna parijataya totra vetraika parnaye jnanamudraya krishnaya Gitamritaduhe namaha. So going ahead, yesterday in the last session, we did saw a kind of an overview of introduction. So Srila Prabhupada's introduction to Bhagavad Gita is so complete that just by studying it so carefully, and if one follows and applies in his life, he gets the benefit and the result of reading the whole of Bhagavad Gita. It is so complete, Of course, it is published as a separate book also. So what we will do here in the course of Bhakti Shastri is we are trying to give an overview of introduction to Bhagavad Gita. I'm just highlighting different sections. As I was telling last time, I request all of you is maybe after the festival or maybe whenever you get time, please make an attempt to read line by line of introduction. Very, very wonderfully written. So systematic it is, so thorough it is. One will not have any doubts left. Oh, maybe I should read Gita, then only I will understand this. No, Prabhupada gives everything there, in that introduction. So in that sense, it's my request. So whenever you are able to get a little time, so please go through that. So in the last time we met, we discussed about some of the broad headings of this introductions sections, so I request, I think we had done till, someone please remind me till where we had done, till how many points we had covered, any of you?
Sambandha we were doing.
Sambandha we were doing, okay.
Yeah.
So spirit and purpose were completed fully, hai na?
Yes.
Yes. So we did discuss about the two important spirits, submissive spirit and devotional spirit, which Prabhupada highlighted. Srinivas Prabhu, can you please read the spirit of Gita, the points under it?
At least theoretically, spirit of Gita, at least theoretically accepts Sri Krishna as a supreme Lord, submissive spirit.
Yeah.
B. Establish oneself in relationship with Supreme Lord in one of 5 fellows. Devotional spirit.
Yeah. Then purpose of Gita also, we saw 3 of them. Yeah.
First one is to deliver mankind from nuisance. Arguments to satisfy the inquiry into absolute. To re-establish the real purpose of life.
So like this, Prabhupada gave spirit and the purpose in the very beginning. After this, I was telling last time a little about this concept of Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana, right? So can one give an equivalent word or maybe a sentence explanation for each of them? What is Sambandha? What is Abhidheya? What is Prayojana in general?
Sambandha is a knowledge, Prabhu, and Abhidheya is process.
Yes.
Prayojana is a goal.
Yeah, correct. So one should have an understanding of all these 3, So one should know first where we are, who we are, and where we want to go. What is the nature of that state or place we want to go, and what is the process? Like, say, suppose I'm sitting in Gachibowli. I have to go to, say, suppose Yadgirigutta, for example. So I should know where I am. In Google Maps, first thing it shows is where you are, and then it shows the destination and which mode of transport you want to use, either a car or maybe a shortcut by some other vehicle transport, maybe a train, I don't know. So the mode of transport or the process to be applied, that's also important. So in that sense, we started saying about Sambandha. Yes. We saw, I believe, the 2 aspects of Sambandha. Yeah. Srinivas Prabhu, please read them, the first 2 aspects. Sambandha.
Slide is not moved, Prabhu. I can still.
Are you seeing?
I'm still seeing introduction, spirit of one purpose.
Yeah, the Sambandha, 3rd point. The 3rd point.
It's not come from on the screen, at least I cannot see.
Really?
Anyone,
Anyone else able to read?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I can do that.
Yeah.
Sambandha, relationship.
Yes.
A, 5 truths: Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. B, consciousness. Contaminated and pure.
So we did discuss these 2 parts. So we discussed about Ishvara. What does Ishvara mean? Controller. Supreme controller. Jiva, the controlled. It's a conscious entity, Jiva, but it is controlled. Prakriti. With what Prakriti is being talked here in Gita? What is the Prakriti meaning here?
The material nature?
Material nature, yes. It's not spiritual nature, it is a material nature. Bhautika Prakriti. Then Kala, that is time. So Prakriti is Jada. Jiva and Ishvara are Chaitana, conscious. And Kala is the time with which Prakriti functions in this world. With the modes and with the time, Prakriti functions. And Karma, which is the reactions or actions of the activities and the reactions which they get it in response. This is karma, the system of action and reaction. So these are the 5 truths, very, very important. Actually, these are coming throughout the Gita. So in these 5, one thing I did mention, I remember, what of the truths are eternal and what are not eternal? Who can say? Among the 5.
Prakriti is temporary, Prabhu, others are eternal.
Prakriti is temporary? Yeah, temporary.
No,
I mean
karma,
to say
karma
eternal and...
Karma is a temporary.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry, Prabhu. Karma is karma.
So Prakriti
is manifest and unmanifest.
Unmanifest. It's a cyclically going on process. So Prakriti is eternal. Krishna will say this in 13th chapter. Very important philosophical explanation of Prakriti comes there. But karma is the only temporary thing. All others are eternal. That's important. So we did start discussing about consciousness. So Krishna explains the relationships in terms of consciousness. So the consciousness, which makes us as life, the consciousness is a symptom of soul. So there is contaminated consciousness and there is pure consciousness. So Krishna Prabhupada was explaining that. So I'll quickly go to that part directly. So I'm showing, please open your book if you have, and go to this part of the introduction. The Supreme Conscious Ishvara is similar to the living entity. And here comes the discussion of consciousness. So in the consciousness, Prabhupada tells about how consciousness is not stemming from matter. That's how the modern science tells. Actually, life comes from life, or consciousness is a product of another consciousness. That he explains in the beginning. And later he also mentions this very important point. Our consciousness at the present moment is contaminated, and Bhagavadgita is teaching us how to purify that contaminated consciousness. Ultimately, we are not the controllers or enjoyers. We are cooperators. Last time we did discuss about this. And this consciousness of being cooperator is pure consciousness. So when we cooperate in the plan or in the mission of the Lord, just like bodily limbs cooperate in the functions of the body, they serve the stomach, then they are also nourished and they are happy. So that's the example Prabhupada gave here. So we will go ahead from here. So Prabhupada also mentions the Sambandha in the spiritual realm as 3 aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. I'm sure you are aware of this because Ishopanishad discussed about it a lot, is it not? Brahma, Jyoti, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. These were very nicely explained in Ishopanishad, right from the mantra. In fact, the invocation mantra itself starts talking about it. So Prabhupada tells in Gita, Krishna very conclusively says, very directly says that how impersonal Brahman is subordinate to him. It is based on him. It is resting on him, exactly to say pratishtha aham. This also comes. And he also tells about Paramatma, especially in the 15th chapter of Gita, which is called Purushottama Yoga. There is Paramatma descriptions a lot. That famous shloka, Sarvasya cha aham hridi sannivishtaha, where it's told, I am the one who is staying in the heart of every jiva. So Krishna tells about Paramatma too. So in that sense, Krishna is saying in Gita that how Brahman and Paramatma realizations are partial realizations. The complete is Bhagavan realization, which Krishna gives in the middle section of Gita and also in the conclusion part of Gita, how he as Bhagavan, how he wants to associate, have association of the jivas, and how he favors his devotee. That's the special aspect of Bhagavan. Paramatma is impartial. He's just giving what is due for the jiva. But Bhagavan, he goes, in fact, he favors the devotee in his spiritual progress. That comes very, very clearly in Gita. So this aspect of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan is also an aspect of Sambandha, which is told. So after this, Prabhupada explains about, this completes the third section, that is Sambandha. Okay, so 3 sections are complete. So then Prabhupada talks, in general, what is the nature of Vedic knowledge and how Bhagavadgita, BG, is the most perfect representation or presentation of Vedic knowledge. These points which come are some things which you have studied in Ishopanishad. Like here, Prabhupada will start telling about the completeness. I request any devotee would like to volunteer here for reading. Now onwards, I'll highlight certain sections. Yes. Yeah, please read this highlighted part. There is
a complete facility for the small complete units, namely the living entities, to realize the complete, and all sorts of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of the complete. So Bhagavad Gita contains the complete knowledge of Vedic wisdom.
So this statement had come, where had it come? Anyone can point out in Ishopanishad, where had you come across this complete, incomplete?
Om Purnamida Purnamidam Purnat Purnamidam.
This is such an amazing statement, you see. All forms of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of complete. What a poetic use of words. Prabhupada is amazing in conveying the concepts. So we experience incompleteness, but there is completeness in the creation. When our knowledge about the creation, which is complete, is incomplete, then we experience incompleteness. So what we should do to have complete knowledge? Bhagavad Gita gives the complete knowledge. That's how Prabhupada puts it here. So there is certain nature of Vedic knowledge which is contrary to material knowledge or knowledge related to this world. Some of the things Prabhupada has highlighted, this comes in Ishopanishad introduction too. You may remember, like one of the understanding is how Vedic knowledge is infallible. It doesn't become false because it is coming from a perfect source, which is free of those mistakes or defects. Those 4 defects you remember in Ishopanishad, which comes, Prabhupada tells about them here also, that we all have these 4 defects. A mundaner has these 4 defects. And this Vedic knowledge, which is called as Shabda Praman, is coming from a source which is free of 4 defects. Stemming directly from the Supreme Lord, who is called, that's why it is called as a Paurusheya. It's not coming from a Purusha of this world. It is a Paurusheya. That is, it is coming from Purushottama. It is not from this persons of this world. So this has to be accepted. It is the perfect. In fact, Lord Krishna directly is speaking here. So evident here in this. So one should not understanding that the validity of Shabda Praman, the true knowledge, true nature of the Vedic knowledge, one should follow it. And it tells that how Lord is the supreme creator, Prapitamaha. Everything is owned by the Supreme Lord, as Ishavasya principle says. And everyone has gotten certain quota for his functioning in this world, for meeting his necessities. And one should accept it. And how one should accept it, what is due for him, that's explained in Gita. Now, you may remember in Ishopanishad purports also, Prabhupada again and again brought out the shlokas of Gita. And he was explaining through that. So this more completely the Ishavasya principle or Ishopanishad as a whole is discussed in Gita. That's why Gita is called as the best Upanishad, the topmost Upanishad. One name of Gita is also Gita Upanishad. It is, though it is coming as a part of Smriti, that is Mahabharata, it is given the position of Upanishad. That's a very special literature, Gita Upanishad. So Krishna himself says this knowledge, and that's why it becomes a Shruti. So in that sense, the next part which is explained is how Jiva should function in this world, what all kinds of activities he does, how the Prakriti works according to the modes. That all comes as a part of this Bhagavad-Gita. So the nature of Vedic knowledge and how Bhagavad-Gita is the most complete representation of Vedic knowledge is explained a little by Prabhupada. Because now everyone is going to study how should one approach Gita. Oh, maybe this is wrong. Maybe this is not verified by our current observations. How one should say it. So that is explained here. Now onwards, Prabhupada will tell about what is called as Prayojana. See, we understood Sambandha, who we are, where we are, what is our original position, all that. And now we should know where we want to go. What is our destination? When we have a very good understanding of destination, then we will surely be eager to go there. If we don't know the nature of our destination, how beautiful it is, how attractive it is, how important it is, then we will not be having that impetus to go towards the destination, right? So first comes Sambandha, then comes not Abhidheya. What comes? First comes Sambandha, then comes
Prayojana.
Prayojana. We should have that understanding of our goal. Like, it's told, if you chant Hare Krishna, serve Krishna, you will be with Krishna in the next life. That's the Prayojana. Then how can I go there? Then there is a description of Abhidheya. So always the sequence goes like this. So that one is having that desire to attain Prayojan. Sambandha, Prayojan, then Abhidheya, like that. So Prayojana is discussed. This is how standard way Vedic scriptures describe. Sambandha, Prayojana, and Abhidheya. Now, what is that Prayojana? Prabhupada describes in the introduction. We will read from there. So he says, Prabhu, read this. Someone was reading. I want this whole paragraph to be read. The destination is called?
That destination is called Sanatana sky, the eternal spiritual sky. In this material world, we find that everything is temporary. It comes into being, stays for some time, produces some byproducts, dwindles, and then vanishes. That is the law of the material world. Whether we use as an example this body, or a piece of fruit, or anything. But beyond this temporary world, there is another world of which we have information. That world consists of another nature, which is Sanatana, eternal. Jiva is also described as Sanatana, eternal, and the Lord is also described as Sanatana in the 11th chapter. We have an intimate relationship with the Lord, and because we are all qualitatively one, the Sanatana Dharma or Dhamma, the Sanatana Dhamma or sky, the Sanatana Supreme Personality, and the Sanatana living entities, the whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to revive our Sanatana occupation or Sanatana Dharma, which is the eternal occupation of the living entity. We are temporarily engaged in different activities, but all of these activities can be purified when we give up all these temporary activities and take up the activities which are prescribed by the Supreme Lord. That is called a pure life.
Pure life. So there is a very nice usage of the word Sanatana. Sanatana means eternal. That which doesn't have a beginning, it doesn't have an end. No, na adi, na anta. Anadi, ananta. That is Sanatana. So Sanatana is the nature of spiritual abode. That's why it's called Sanatana Dhama. Sanatana is the nature of the Supreme Lord. That's why he's called Sanatana, Supreme Personality. Prabhupada uses this word here. And Sanatana is the nature of the Atma, the Jiva. But right now he is in a temporary situation. But actually it is the nature of the Jiva. So that's why it is Sanatana, living entities. And because he's Sanatan, there is a duty or an occupation or an activity of that Sanatana Atma, that is Sanatana Dharma. That's the exact word where Prabhupada brings to, Sanatana Dharma. Often in the current context, or it happens, Sanatana Dharma is given a taint or color of some particular sectarian thing, is it not? Some Hindu thing, or like that. But actually, Sanatana Dharma is so universal, is it not? It is telling about eternal duty or nature of a jiva. It doesn't talk about any specific time or a place or a person. It tells about everyone in general. So Prabhupada says it's the eternal occupation of the living entity. So that is our prayojana, that we attain Sanatana Dharma and practice Sanatana Dharma and be with that Sanatana Supreme Lord. So we are right now in a state of temporariness. So Prabhupada earlier mentioned that our whole existence is in the sphere of non-existence. There was a line like that in this same introduction before very beginning he had told. So we should go. That's why it's told Asatoma Sadgamaya. Have you heard this? It's a very famous chant, they say. From Asat, temporariness, go to Sat, that is truth. Mrityorma Amritangamaya, they say it. So what it means is this prayojana only. From right now, you're here, go to there. That's the prayojana. So this description, Prabhupada makes a lot about Sanatana Dharma. I'm just summarizing here. Sanatana Dharma is an eternal function of the jiva. It's the nature of the jiva. Actually, Prabhupada goes to quote Ramanujacharya and he says, that which cannot be separated from the Lord, that which cannot be ended. Ramanujacharya says here, it did not had any beginning or end. Such a activity is Sanatana Dharma. It is not some, particular Hindu so-called, no, that's not. Actually, Sanatana Dharma is devotional service, to actually understand. So Sanatana Dharma does not refer to any sectarian process of religion. It is the eternal function of the eternal living entities in relationship with the eternal Supreme Lord. Just see, Prabhupada is putting it here. So sometimes we see people changing their faith. Faith is what people call as a Shraddha, or some kind of following. Say Hindu faith, Christian faith, Muslim faith, Jew, or all that. They may change their faith. That doesn't remain Sanatana. So one may have faith in certain process, he may change it and he adopts another. But Sanatana Dharma cannot be changed. It is something so inherent. Like Dharma is something which you cannot separate a being from. He gives an example of water and liquidity. Water in its natural state is liquid. Salt in its natural state is salty. Can we remove the salty taste from salt? Then what? We don't call it as salt anymore, right? Is it not? So the point is, Dharma is something which is inherent of the jiva. It is so inherent. Inherent means it cannot be separated. So what cannot be separated from jiva? What is that quality which is in the jiva always, no matter what form of body he takes? That is actually to offer service. Prabhupada mentions that later. Dharma refers to that which is constantly existing with the object. You see here, like heat and light along with the fire. So he mentions that. So what is it that is which is with the jiva always? That is to render service, especially the rendering of service to the Supreme Personality. That is the Sanatana Dharma of the jiva. When he forgets that, he keeps rendering service. That's his dharma. But he keeps rendering service to someone who is not supreme in this world. Is it not? We see that we serve in some company, some project, some some kind of profession. We serve some masters. That's the nature of a jiva. Even if he says, I want to create my own company, still he is serving his employees. He has to cater to the needs of them. At least he is serving his own mind and senses, is it not? So that service nature is always there. Wife serves husband, husband serves wife, mother serves the child, child serves the mother. But in this world, you see shopkeeper, capitalist, everyone. But in this world, the service ends. And that's why it's not Sanatan. It ends because of time. Is it not? So even if we don't want to end, the time separates us. So the Sanatana Dharma is something which cannot be stopped by time, no matter whether we are in material world or spiritual world. So that's why it's called Sanatana. So Prabhupada mentions that again and again, the nature of this Sanatana Dharma. So understanding this, which is the prayojana to attain that Sanatana Dharma, to attain that Sanatana Dhamma. So that is the goal. It is not possible for one to be happy without rendering transcendental loving service unto the Supreme Lord. Sometimes people may take to some powerful people of this world as their masters and render service. Very great, powerful people. Sometimes even the devatas who are considered very, very powerful, even that service is not Sanatana. Like sometimes people very faithfully worship some devata. Like now there is Shravan, right, which is going on the mass, in which people worship. I think last week was Lakshmi, Varamahalakshmi. They do that. Yeah. Or they do some Panchami in Shravan, or they will do some Ganesh Puja, Vinayaka Chaturthi. Like this, they do, it's good. Somebody they are accepting as superior and they are showing their subordinateness to them. But that master is also not Sanatana. That's the point here, Prabhupada pointing out. Anya Devata. This is also clarified in Gita, the worship of Devatas. How it is not truly the Sanatana Dharma. That's the point. So, Devata Upasana is not Sanatana Dharma. Only and only worship of Krishna is Sanatana Dharma. So the Lord is perpetually happy and he wants his associates to be happy with him. So when they cooperate with him, when they are in his service, then they are truly happy. See, when one is doing his dharma, right? When he's in his, they call it element. When one is in his true nature, one is happy. You don't need to have a lot of facilities, but when one is doing what is his nature, say suppose a painter, he's doing painting, he's most happy. If you put him as the maybe CEO of the company, he might not be happy. But if he is a painter by his nature and he paints, even if he's not provided with good facilities, he's happy. So similarly, Atma, when he is in his Swabhava or Swarupa, it's called, he is happy. Like a fish which is happy in its water. Prabhupada gave this example, so very clear it is. So like that, a jiva is happy when he is in the service of that supremely happy person, Krishna. So Prabhupada would say, a devotee can never be unhappy. You know why? Because he is there with the most happy person. How can a devotee be unhappy? No. Prabhupada would say that only when we forget that we are devotee, we become unhappy. So the point is to remind us of Sanatana Dharma. Lord comes to this world again and again. The very purpose of Lord coming to this world is to attract us to Sanatana Dharma. Like he comes and exhibits this wonderful pastimes of Vrindavan. Like, we are all going to celebrate Krishna Janmashtami very soon. So it is a celebration of our prayojan. Remember this. What is it that is awaiting when we do devotional service? What is it that is awaiting for a devotee? It is so auspicious, so blissful. When one knows, yeah, my future is bright, my future is so happy, then one is most confident in what he's doing. So this is how our Shastras explain. So one should very faithfully, it's sufficient to just worship Supreme Lord alone. There is no one else need to be served. Not devatas, not people of this world. We may do certain duties, that's fine. But our heart, our service has to be given to the Supreme Lord. That's our dharma, Sanatana Dharma. That's the point Prabhupada says here. And he, in the Bhagavadgita, also describes about Sanatana Dharma. So what we discussed was Sanatana Dharma so far. Now, little about Sanatana Dharma. Krishna says in this famous chapter 15th, Natad Bhasayate, my abode is so special. It doesn't require sun and moon and fire and electricity. Once people come there, they don't ever feel to leave it. So it is so fully satisfying. Can you imagine? Eternally it is satisfying. That means so much of happiness will be there. So the point is, Sanatana Dharma is most satisfying to the jiva. So the Bhagavad Gita gives description of the eternal sky, Sanatana Dharma. So that way, the prayojana is described by Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada explains here. One has to try to go there, not to some planets of this world. One may try, good, no problem. But please know that that's not permanent. We may go to Chandra or Surya or Mangala, wherever, whatever yans we do. Ultimately, what is it that is deeply satisfying and an intelligent thing to do is to go to spiritual sky. Prabhupada says here, the living entities can go from one planet to another by some mechanical arrangement. They may try some spaceships or some other methods. But Bhagavad Gita advises us, do not try for that temporary attempt. But what one should try is to go to spiritual sky. Because everywhere the material world's nature is same. Dukkhalayam, Shashvatam. In that sense, Bhagavad Gita reconciles, and it also discusses about the nature of this world, material world, in the Gita 15th chapter, about how it is a reflection of the original about spiritual world. That completes the prayojana. So prayojana, in essence, what does it say? Revive the Sanatana Dharma and reach the Sanatana Dhamma. So two things. So we have to revive Sanatana Dharma, that is the pure devotional service, and reach Sanatana Dhamma. For Gaudiya Vaishnavas, it is Goloka Vrindavan. Like that. That is prayojana. Is it clear? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Any questions or comments? Because now we are going to discuss Abhidheya. So how do we go there? That's the next question, which comes naturally. So Abhidheya, Prabhupada talks a lot of Abhidheya methods. Actually, Gita gives a lot of advices. Actually, Gita is not a dictation. It's not telling, do this, don't do this. It doesn't say like that. Gita says, Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, the speaker of Gita, he explains that if you do this, this is what is the result. If you have this kind of attitude, this is what is the result. So Gita explains an action and a consequence following that action. And the hearer or a reader, Arjuna, who is the perfect hearer of Gita, he chose the action after understanding the consequences of all types of actions. So Gita gives a choice. It doesn't force. It's a very special scripture, unlike other faiths, which force a person to follow. If you don't follow this, this is what will happen to you. The other faiths may say it, but Gita doesn't do that. So in that sense, an intelligent person should study it in that open frame and wisely choose action and have a nice consciousness while doing the action. So Abhidheya, Prabhupada describes at least 6 Abhidheya methods. We will go one by one. I will show you. These are all the shlokas which are coming in the introduction. Just flip the pages and you will find those references. I hope all of you are in this paragraph, starting from the Lord suggests that we attain the spiritual world in following manner. Please come to that part. From there, we are now referring to each of these Abhidheya methods. Are all of you at this place?
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Yes,
so I'm
Prabhuji.
showing it again here. See this? The Nirmana Moha Shloka, Vema Shloka. From here, it starts Abhidheya. Very long elaboration of Abhidheya. We will not go line by line for it, but I will just show it as an overview. So the first thing which Prabhupada says is, some of the Abhidheya methods one does throughout his life. Some he does at the time of death, that is remembering Krishna. So first thing is how one should actually realize the nature of this material world, which is temporary. The bodily designations are temporary. Free oneself from that. Nirmana, moha, jita, sanga, dosha. Krishna says that the designations, the identities one takes in this world, which puts one in illusion, moha, and they're all filled with dosha, jita, sanga, dosha. One should nir matlab free. And then he says, adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama. So one should engage in adhyatma, leaving aside material desires. Rise above dvandva. You see this shloka. Dvandvair vimukta sukha dukkha samyer. And then it says gachanti. You know what's the meaning of gachanti? Gachanti. Means go. One goes. Gachanti. Where one goes? Avyayam padam. Like we say param padam. Or Krishna's lotus feet is called Avyayam Padam. So by doing this, one will go to Krishna's lotus feet. So this is the first Abhidheya which is taught. Okay. So Prabhupada explains a little about it, how this world is filled with the temporary designations and attachments. And it is so very difficult to even understand about it. So how one should approach this world's nature, that is explained here. Then the second Abhidheya method is telling about what one should do at the end of life. Famous shloka. Baburam Prabhu, read this translation.
Yes, and whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attain my nature. Of there is no doubt. Bhagavadgita 8.5. One who thinks of Krishna at the time of his death goes to Krishna. One must remember the form of Krishna. If he quits his body thinking of his form, he surely approaches the spiritual kingdom. Mad Bhavam refers to the supreme nature of the supreme being. The supreme being is Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. That is, his form is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss.
Bliss. Thank you. So Prabhupada explains here that ultimately this is the thing which one should attain in his life, in this very life. What is it? At the end of life, one should be remembering Krishna. Mam smaran eva. Me alone, if one remembers, then samadbhavam, he will come to me. So Prabhupada says this cannot be forced. You cannot force what will happen at the time of death. What has already happened, that only just flashes in front of one's vision. It is told that that part of life which one is most attached to, that's what sticks to him in front of his eyes. And if he remembers that, that's what he will attain. So it is actually a cultivation. Though it is told whatever one thinks at the time of death, he will attain that. If one thinks of Krishna, he will attain Krishna. But one should cultivate Krishna remembrance. So how one should do that? That is, Krishna himself says, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. So as one thinks, that's what he attains. But how does one attain that kind of cultivation? So for that, one should have proper knowledge. Prabhu, can you read this? In life, we are accustomed to thinking.
In life, we are accustomed to thinking either of the material or the spiritual energy. Now, how can we transfer our thoughts from the material energy to the spiritual energy? There are so many literatures which fill our thoughts with the material energy, newspapers, magazines, novels, etc. Our thinking, which is now absorbed in this literature, must be transferred to the Vedic literatures. The great sages, therefore, have written so many Vedic literatures, such as the Puranas.
Yeah. So this is to be done. We understand that, yes, I have to remember Krishna at the time of death. And it is a cultivation. So how do I cultivate? How do I develop knowledge and practice it? By reading Shastras, especially Puranas, especially Gita and Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada quotes the very famous Chaitanya Charitamrita shloka. Maya mugdha jivera nahi swatah Krishna jnana jivere kripaya kaila Krishna Veda Puran. So the jivas who are in this world affected by Maya, they don't have Krishna jnana. They don't have knowledge about Krishna. As a mercy, compassion upon these jivas, jivera kripa kaila Krishna Veda Puran. So Krishna gave these Vedic scriptures as a compassion on the jivas. Actually, the Vedic scriptures are nothing but the instructions of Lord. One very senior devotee, in fact, told they are like a letter of love to the jivas. How a beloved sends a letter expressing his love to the beloved, is it not? So like that, Lord has sent. And the jivas who read it, they will remind themselves of that love. And they will attain the association of the beloved. That's the Shastras actually. So when one reads Shastras, one will cultivate that remembrance of Krishna. That's the third Abhidheya. What is it? Studying Vedic scriptures. That's the third Abhidheya. Let me show you if you are too difficult to follow this flow. First thing, Prabhupada said Abhidheya. First one was how to free oneself from these temporary designations. And second was, one should remember at the time of death, Krishna. That's the second Abhidheya. And to attain that, one should follow or study and follow Vedic scriptures. That's the third Abhidheya. That's where we are right now. Are all of us together? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, one thing, Prabhuji. Sorry.
Yes. No
now in Abhidheya, the second point, remember Lord at the time of death.
Yes.
Now in the purport here, Prabhupada says that one who thinks of Krishna at the time of his death goes to Krishna.
Correct.
One must remember the form of Krishna. So how to understand the form of Krishna to remember? Is it the name of Krishna? Is it some kind of like we do idol worship as well? So some form of that Krishna that we remember, or what is this form basically?
Actually, this form of Krishna, as Prabhupada later explains, that when one reads the Shastras, he understands that Lord is spiritual. He cannot be understood by matter. His form is not material. So in that sense, we don't have an experience of the form of the Lord. So how do we think about the form of Lord? Is that the question?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. So the question, very good question. Actually, Shastras describe the form of the Lord. So one should read the Shastras and think about the form of the Lord. They give a lot of description. Like right now, Krishna is going to appear very soon. There is very beautiful description of Krishna's form in Bhagavatam. Very nice. How his beautiful bodily limbs are, how his color is, how his eyes are, how his lips are. These are the description of the form of the Lord in the Shastra. So when one reads Shastras, he will understand the form of the Lord. That's the first thing. Second thing, when one takes up to devotional service, one limb of bhakti is there called archanam. Archana, puja, right? So there we worship the deities, Shri Vigrahas. So they are also actually made according to Shastra, who are invoked by, the Lord's presence is invoked there by proper vidhis of Shastras. And when one does service to them, one develops the understanding of, yeah, Lord is a person. He has that beautiful form. He's not some void or some light or some energy. So the second thing I'm saying is about the deity form.
Okay.
The first one was reading Shastra and understanding the description of the Lord. Second is Vigraha, who are there in the temples, in the centers nearby where we go and offer our service. Darshan we should regularly take. And third is also very interesting. When we chant the names of the Lord, Nama, that unfolds the Rupa, which further unfolds the Guna and Leela. It goes like that. Nama, Rupa, Guna and Leela. It is an advanced stage, but this is how the form of the Lord becomes imprinted in our consciousness, that we can remember at the time of it. Three things we spoke. Read Shastra and especially descriptions of the form of the Lord. Second is, what was the second, Prabhu?
Deities, Prabhuji.
Deities, very good. And third one?
Is kind of
Chanting.
Chanting, sorry.
Chanting. Nama reveals. So chanting we can all do, right? So by that, when we purify our heart, we will be able to actually understand the form of it.
Okay.
That's helpful?
Yeah, so sure. Thanks. Thank you. So basically at the time of this form, we're referring to the spiritual form which we realize with the with chanting, with deity worship, and with Shastra reading.
Correct.
Okay.
You're right.
It's not the literal meaning that the form is not the literal meaning that okay, you form, you remember, like remembering form is important, or remembering Krishna is important. That's the question.
Actually, Krishna's form are all non-different. We don't say different. They are non-different. They are one. And like Krishna's name, like we are not able to. I just chant the name Hare Krishna.
Okay.
That's as good as remembering.
Sure.
Oh, I'm not able to chant, but I just am. My mind is attached to that deities of the Lord. Oh, so beautiful, Radha Madan Mohan. Abbott's temple, Prabhupada's, they are deities. So that's also the same benefit. Is it clear?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
So we saw three methods of abhidheya now. Study Vedic literatures and follow. Now, Krishna also gives, very interestingly, the further abhidheyas, which goes on to say how one should follow. He says, you remember me and do your duties. Krishna says, I am not telling you to leave your duties. Very important instruction of Gita. Gita doesn't say to one to renounce everything and go. See, here he says, we must transfer. Baburam Prabhu, read this.
We must transfer our reading to these literatures which are given to us by Veda Vyasa. In that way, it will be possible for us to remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death. That is the only way suggested by the Lord, and his guarantees the result.
That is no doubt. So, and how this is to be done, Krishna says in the next shloka, very famous words, Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. Remember me and fight. Fight here was a duty of Arjuna. For us, we may not be having a duty to fight, right? So our duty is being in a society, being a family man, being in a particular profession. We have our duties towards our family, towards our children, towards our a community or country, whatever. The duties are there. with relation to the body. Basically, duty here means relation to the body. And when we do it, we should always have anusmara. Always think of me. Read this, Prabhu.
Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time, continue your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Bhagavadgita 8:7.
Krishna very clearly says it. Gita doesn't say one to renounce one's duties. Prabhupada said it again and again. See, it does not advise Arjuna simply to remember him and give up his duties. No, Lord does not suggest anything impractical. Sometimes we think, oh, these spiritual instructions are not practical. No, if that was impractical, why would Lord say it? If it is not in our capacity to do, why will Lord say it? So we should never have that kind of an attitude. Oh, these are not practical. This cannot be. No, Krishna said the most practical thing. In fact, that's the most perfect thing to do. So we all have our duties. Being in the society, one should do them, but one should never forget the most important duty of being a soul, the servant of Krishna. So this is the fourth abhidheya, which Krishna explains in the, Prabhupada gives in this particular introduction. Later ahead, he also says that how when one is remembering Krishna, the best yogi who tries to do meditation, he is perfect only when he reaches the stage of remembering me. And Krishna says this, the best of the yogi is one who remembers, abides in me, who renders service to me, is intimately united with me. So one who thinks of Lord is the greatest jnani, greatest yogi, and the greatest devotee at the same time. Yeah. So the Lord further tells Arjuna that as a Kshatriya, he cannot give up his fighting. But if Arjuna fights remembering Krishna, then he will be able to remember Krishna at the time of death. So it's a cultivation, you see, abhyasa. It's a cultivation. So one should do one's duty, but be in the heart surrendered to Krishna. Actually, it's a very interesting way how a devotee functions in this world. Externally, he's functioning with his senses. He's doing the duties of the body. He may be working as any other materialist will work. Externally, we may not understand. He's not doing something spiritual activity externally always. But internal state of heart, that shows his cultivation. So Prabhupada says, very, very interesting paragraph. I request, please pay attention. I'll fully read Prabhu. We work not with our body.
We work not with our body, actually, but with our mind and intelligence. So if the intelligence and the mind are always engaged in the thought of the Supreme Lord, then naturally the senses are also engaged in his service. Superficially, at least, the activities of the senses remain the same, but the consciousness is changed. The Bhagavad Gita teaches one how to absorb the mind and intelligence in the thought of the Lord. Wow. Such absorption will enable one to transfer himself to the kingdom of the Lord. If the mind is engaged in Krishna's service, then the senses are automatically engaged in his service. This is the art, and this is also the secret of Bhagavad Gita, total absorption in the thought of Sri Krishna.
So Prabhupada brought it to this, which is what one should try and attain. Total absorption in the thought of Sri Krishna. When one, that's why Krishna Gita will, lot of times it will say, engage your mind in me, man mana. Many times that aspect of man will come. Engage your mind in me. Okay, yes, we may have to do our duties being in this world, fine. But where is your mind? That's what reflects where our consciousness is. So Krishna is actually demanding, and he is asking for our minds, which is very difficult. So we have to cultivate it. How do we cultivate that? So Prabhupada explains that is done by the Navavidha Bhakti. That's the practice of devotion. See how he slowly, one after another, very progressively he brought it to this 9 activities, the 9 processes. What are they? Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam. So when one does these 9 activities, what will happen? His thought will turn towards Supreme Lord. He will become absorbed in the Supreme. One should do one's duties, but along with that, one should engage in these processes, 9 processes, Navavidha Bhakti. These are direct activities which directly connect. Sometimes we may not be having that consciousness of devotion, but when we engage in these activities of devotion, that consciousness will awaken. That's the benefit of these activities, 9 activities. Like when we chant, though we may not remember Krishna's form, by chanting, that practice of chanting will purify our heart. And just like when we hear Bhagavatam, when we worship Archanam, like all of you so wonderfully are doing services, preaching, worshipping, so many ways. When we engage in this service, then our consciousness will awaken. It will become from material to spiritual consciousness, contaminated to pure consciousness. So like this, Prabhupada tells us these around 6 Abhidheya methods. So we have seen them. We saw the last 3 also. Remember Lord and do your duties. Total absorption in Krishna thought. Yogi Nama api sarvesham. And 9-fold ways. Shravanam Kirtan. So there are many, many ways by which we can attain prayojan. So Prabhupada has given all. Actually, Gita tells a lot, but some of the important ones are. Is that clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Any comment or question? Okay, so we saw Sambandha, who we are, where are we, what's the relationship. Then we saw what is it that we should aim for? We should attain prayojan. What is prayojana for us? What is the goal for us?
Revive Sanatana Dharma.
Sanatana Dharma and reach Sanatana.
Sanatana Dharma, yes, very right. And Abhidheya are these 6 which Prabhupada has given one after. So after describing this so wonderfully, you see now Prabhupada is so genius in putting such vast knowledge in such simple explanations. Now he gives a very listing of the meanings, shloka and the meanings of a very famous work by one Acharya. It's written by Shankaracharya. That book is it's called Gita Mahatmya. So this Gita Mahatmya, Prabhupada quotes in one of another book also. Another book. I think you have course on it. What is that book? I believe all of you have that science of self-realization. Do you remember in that one of the articles, Prabhupada writes Gita Mahatmya verses like that. So these glories of Gita are the last part of the introduction. So what we will do, we will recite together these verses, very nice verses, and Baburam Prabhu will read translation, which I will highlight. Okay? Yeah. So after this, Prabhupada goes to. So yeah, Prabhupada says before, in conclusion, Gita is a transcendental literature which one should read very carefully. So the first verse of Gita Mahatmya is like this. Together. Gita Shastramidam Punyam
Idam punyam.
Yah Patet Prayata Puman
Te prayatnam pumam.
Vishnu Padama Vapnoti
Vishnu padam vapnoti.
Bhayashokadi Varjita.
Ayashoka vivarjita.
Baburam Prabhu read this highlighted. If one
If one properly follows the instruction of Bhagavad Gita, one can be freed from all the miseries and anxieties in this life, and one's next life will be spiritual.
Vishnu Padamavapnoti, one will attain Vishnu Pada, Vaikuntha, Goloka, and Bhaya Shoka Adi Varjitaha. Bhaya and Shoka and all other lamenting things, one will be freed from. The second verse of Gita Mahatmya says, Gita Dhyayana Shilasya
Gita Shilasya
Pranayama Parasya Cha Naiva Santi Hi Papani
Naiva Santi Papani
Purva Janma Kritani Cha. So she read?
If one reads Bhagavad Gita very sincerely and with all seriousness, then by the grace of the Lord, the reactions of past misdeeds will not act upon him. Gita Mahatmya 2. The Lord says very loudly in the last portion of Gita.
So this very same verse is told by Krishna himself also. In that famous verse together we will say, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. So the same meaning Krishna directly said it, just surrender to me, you don't need to fear the sinful reactions. So the third verse of Gita Mahatmya, repeat after me. Mala nirmochanam pumsam
Nirmochanam Pumsam
Jalasnanam dine dine
Jalasnanam Dine Dine
Sakrit Gitamrita Snanam
Gitamrita Snanam
Samsara Malanashanam.
Samsara Malanashanam.
So read Prabhu, one may.
One may cleanse himself daily by taking a bath in water. But if one takes a bath even once in the sacred Ganges water of Bhagavad Gita, for him the dirt of the material life is altogether vanquished. Gita Mahatmya
3. I am not remembering perfectly, but you all can help me. That Bhajagovindam verse also says this. Dhyayam Gita Nama Sahasram Sakradapi Ena Murari Kriyate Tasyayam. Now there also Shankaracharya says the very same. Actually, he had a great admiration for Gita. Many of his compositions tell about read once Gita. Sakrat means even once. Even if you're not able to read daily, even once reading is so beneficial. Like we take daily bath. What about daily reading Gita and take a bath of proper consciousness? We become pure. So then he continues. Gita Sugita Kartavya
Gita Sugita Kartavya
Himanyai Shastra Vistarai Ya Swayam Padmanabhasya Mukha Padmad Vinishrita. Yeah. So read this, Prabhu.
Because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one need not read any other Vedic literature. One need only attentively and regularly hear and read Bhagavad Gita. In the present age, people are so absorbed in mundane activities that it is not possible for them to read all the Vedic literatures. But this is not necessary. This one book, Bhagavad Gita, will suffice because it is the essence of all the Vedic literatures and especially because it is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Something which came from the mouth of the Lord is Gita. Something which came from the feet of the Lord is Ganga. How pure is Ganga? Everyone adores, takes a bath, sprinkles, even Shiva is keeping Ganga on his head. So what if the result can we imagine, the result of chanting these verses of Gita, understanding and following it so pure, like Gita, like Ganga. So continuing, he says, Bharatamrita Sarvaswam Vishnu Vaktrad Vinisritam Gita Gangodakam Pitva Punarjanma na vidyate. Read this.
One who drinks the water of the Ganges attains salvation. So, what to speak of one who drinks the nectar of Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is the essential nectar of the Mahabharata and is spoken by the Lord Krishna himself, the original Vishnu, Gita Mahatmya 5.
Gita Mahatmya 5. At the end, there are 2 more verses. So, Krishna now tells the position of Gita among all the, Shankaracharya says, position of Gita among all the Vedic literatures. Very, very interesting verse. Very good comparison is here. Sarvopanishado gavo Dogdha Gopalanandana Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Geetamritam Mahad. Any other devotee would like to take reading? Thank you, Baburam. I just want to give others. Yeah. Anyone else, please volunteer.
Yes, sir. This Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, the essence of all the Upanishads, is just like a cow, and Lord Krishna, who is famous as a cowherd boy, is milking this cow. Arjuna is just like a calf, and learned scholars and pure devotees are to drink the nectarian milk of Bhagavad Gita. Gita Mahatmya 6.
And the conclusion is so emphatic. Emphatic means so declaring, like sometimes a president or a prime minister addresses the country. We should do this. Let there be this one thing. One nation, one whatever. One nowadays they're saying. Here is the real one thing, which according to Shankaracharya and Srila Prabhupada, here it is. Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Geetam. Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva. Eko Mantrastasya Namani Yani. Karmapyekam Tasya Devasya Seva. You can envision Prabhupada standing in the in front of the whole world and saying this. This is what they would say. What if they have that opportunity? Read this whole, Mataji. In this, who was reading? Please read.
Yes, Prabhu. In this present day, people are very much eager to have one scripture, one God, one religion, and one occupation. Therefore, Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Geetam, let there be one scripture only, one common scripture for the whole world, Bhagavad Gita. Eko Deva Devaki Putra Eva, let there be one God for the whole world, Sri Krishna. Eko Mantras Tasya Namani, and one hymn, one mantra, one prayer, the chanting of his name, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Yes.
Karmapi ekam tasya devasya seva, and let there be one work only, the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
We can dream. Surely we can dream. We can dream this happen. Is it not? And try our best.
So nice. Yes.
It will be so nice, is it not? Yeah. And it can surely happen. Mahaprabhu's words are there. We should try our best. So, like this, Gita is glorified by acharyas at all times and all ages. They have glorified like that. So, in that sense, Gita's introduction Prabhupada gave in this particular last introduction we just now read, the Gita Mahatmya, also last part of it, is so complete. It's impelling one. Yes, let me find Gita and read it. So in a sense, we saw this. I'm just putting it up again so that we see the spirit of Gita, the submissive and devotional spirit. Then the purpose, how it is meant to deliver one from this avidya, to satisfy our jignasa, and to establish us in real purpose, real Sanatana Dharma. And Sambandha we saw. Mataji, please read from here.
5 truths.
Yeah.
Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, Karma. Consciousness, contaminated and pure. Then C, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan.
And then we saw some more. Yes.
Nature of Vedic knowledge and Bhagavad Gita as its most perfect presentation. Prayojana is reviving the Sanatana Dharma and to reach Sanatana Dhamma sky.
Yeah. And in Abhidheya, we saw around 6 methods which Prabhupada gave. Very nice they are. So please read the whole introduction to get a very complete understanding of it. And finally, we saw the glories of Gita Mahatma. So Prabhupada also lists the disciplic succession, the parampara after this, showing the official connection in the parampara up till Lord Krishna. In that sense. Anyway, so we would like to start. It's a very auspicious day. It's the day Srila Prabhupada left for West. It's the day of departure for US today. It's also according to English calendar, it's Prabhupada's birthday, 1st September. So we would like to enter the first chapter today. Any of you have any comments or additions you want to make, or any questions, if any? Hare Krishna. Yes, Srinivas Prabhu, anything you want to add?
No, Prabhu, it's very clear, Prabhu.
So, we all know that there are 18 chapters. So, if you see the contents page, just flip it a little behind and see. All the 18 chapters which are mentioned, Prabhupada also given, BBT has given a little introduction for it each. Traditionally, as last time I was telling, it is called Yoga Shastra. Om Srimad Bhagavadgita Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre. Yoga Shastra. So traditionally, every chapter's name is also having a yoga. Shankaracharya gave the names, Bhakti Thakur gave the names like that. So the first chapter, which is what we are saying today. Before that, I want to just show you what is it that we will be referring to in our study. So all of you, you all have the course guide or handbooks given to you. All of you have received.
Yes.
You might have referred for it, Ishopanishad also. Okay? So primarily, there are 2 primary commentaries given by our acharyas in our parampara. Baladeva Vidyabhushana and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur both have given excellent commentaries. And Prabhupada, based on that, has written Bhagavadgita as it is. So we can read them parallel to them. And there are very wonderful study guides, given by many ISKCON devotees, very learned devotees, senior devotees, Srila Prabhupada disciples, some of the very learned devotees also. You can also refer to them. I have put it up here for your reference. If you have them next to you, you can keep it. As I say something, you can add. You can, have another vision or perspective to it also. So we will enter the first chapter of Gita. Traditionally, it is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Vishada. Vishada means Vishad. Any of you know what's the meaning of Vishada? What's the meaning of Vishada? Vishada means sadness. 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 So Arjuna became sad in this chapter. Arjuna, a devotee of Krishna, who was very eager. Yes, I will fight. It's always been that we were put into injustice and all that. Now is the opportunity. Yes, Krishna. Yes, Yudhishthira, I will fight. He had taken so many vows earlier, but now he becomes sad in this chapter. Very interesting. And it is called yoga. How is it that sadness of a person is called yoga? Yoga is something which rises a person from sadness, right? So how is it called yoga? Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Our acharyas explain that this Arjuna Vishada Yoga, this chapter, it brings Arjuna to a state in which he becomes most receptive for hearing the knowledge from Krishna. So in this world, Arjuna is actually playing our role, like in Srimad Bhagavatam's Prakatata, manifestation, Parikshit Maharaj, he was taken as a medium. Like that for Bhagavadgita, Arjuna is taken as a medium. So Arjuna is put into sadness. Like Parikshit also had, some certain events in life by which Bhagavatam was written. Similarly, Arjuna also is going to undergo that. So it's a Vishada. At the same time, if we see the state of ours, we all undergo this sadness. Today, tomorrow, yesterday, or someday in future, everyone will undergo this sadness in life. No matter how wealthy or powerful he becomes, he will undergo surely sadness in life. Vishada. Prabhupada will tell it so wonderfully in one of the purports. And when one is put into such a situation, what one should do, that is what this chapter explains. Arjuna took a step by which he rose above the sadness, like that. Another title for this chapter, Bhakti Thakur gives, is Observing the Armies. Sainya Nirikshana Yoga. That's another name given. Sainya means armies. Nirikshana means observing the armies on the battlefield. Prabhupada gives that meaning only in the translation. So this chapter is the very first chapter. It sets the stage. Sometimes people disbelieve Bhagavad Gita because they think, how could a lesson of knowledge be given in a situation of so much chaos, violence, and filled with anger, so many things? How could a battlefield become a classroom? Classroom is where people give knowledge. How could a battlefield be used as classroom? Yes, we all are in battles. We are fighting sometimes battles externally, not with swords and things like that. But surely we are fighting battles. And lot of battles are fought internally. So there were Kauravas and Pandavas, right? But in the life of a Jiva of this world, there are some internal battles in which the enemies are. Who are the enemies there? Internal. Who are the enemies? Any of you, please?
Our mind, Prabhuji.
Our mind, yeah. Correct. Any other enemies?
Senses.
Senses.
Yes, senses. Yeah, Krishna says all these are enemies. Yeah, mind is the enemy. Senses they don't act against us. The anarthas, kama, krodha, Krishna will say them also in the Gita. So these are enemies. So Arjuna is surely going to fight the external enemies, but first he has to conquer the internal enemies, and that will be most, that's first, to be done. And then yes, the outside thing is actually impervious. It doesn't stay. If we win internal battle, external is not there, practically speaking. So it's a very wonderful chapter. It gives us so much of hope for us. How a devotee of Lord faces some reversals, and how he takes the right steps. See, we may do some mistakes in life. Like Arjuna did something here. He did something. He told Krishna, do this, Krishna. And Krishna smiled. Arjuna, really? He was testing Arjuna. And Arjuna did it, and due to which he himself fell into sadness. Something like I do a lot of times. So we do something due to which we fall into sadness. But what is the real hope is we take shelter of Krishna, like Arjuna did. So in this chapter, broadly, there are 4 sections. First section is, there is preparations for war, which is the first section. Then there is signs of victory. Victory is assured for one side, according to Gita's first chapter only. The victory is assured for Pandavas in Sanjaya's shlokas. So Sanjaya describes, Pandavas are going to be victorious. He says some things. He tells what's going to happen. Then there is a very wonderful introduction of the speaker of Gita. Like in any movie, I've heard that, Andhra and very famous for movies. So the hero is given a very good introduction. how he comes, how he appears, like that. In Gita, interestingly, the hero is entering as a driver, as a charioteer, especially the quality of Bhakta how Krishna takes up that role. In other faiths, Christianity, Islam, Judaism and all, God is portrayed as the most powerful. He's sitting and he's throwing thunderbolts, he's ordering, he's sending someone to hell, all these kind of things. But in Gita, God is shown as the most, is shown as a servant of his devotees. That is the beauty of Gita. And lastly, Arjuna's doubts. Arjuna starts having some confusion in his heart. He falls into lamentation. And there are some doubts which come in his mind. So do not worry about this chart. I will keep showing this chart every section. Just understand these 4 parts which are going to come. So now we enter the first shloka of the first chapter, 1.1. Observing the armies and the battlefield of Krishna. So how we will do the protocol. The shloka, I will say, please repeat after me. Every shloka is, because it's large words, we should recite them. It's very, very purifying. Even if some things we don't understand, at least reciting will help. And then one devotee will read translation, we will take rotation. And certain parts of purport I will highlight and show, and some explanations I will try to give. Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre
Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre
Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kima Kurvata Sanjaya. Very famous words. Dhritarashtra. The first shloka is spoken by Dhritarashtra. Actually, what happened is the battle of Kurukshetra had begun. After the 9th day, I think on the 10th day, Bhishma falls. Sanjaya, who was one of the reading or opinions of it is like this. So Sanjaya, who was the charioteer of Bhishma, he leaves the battlefield. So he comes back, and when he comes back, Dhritarashtra asks a question. So he tells what had happened, and then he will also describe what is happening, because Vyasa comes and gives that vision to Sanjaya. Vyasa Prasad. So at the last chapter of Gita, this is explained also. How Sanjaya is able to see everything, though he is seated so far from the Kurukshetra battlefield. So both opinions are there, that Sanjaya did see some of the things physically for first 9 days and he came back. But Prabhupada also describes that how Sanjaya, because of his service to Guru, he could see everything which was happening on the battlefield, and he relayed, he told to Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra asks the first, that's the first shloka. So he says, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre, the place of the battle, which is Kurukshetra, is also a Dharmakshetra. Like, you have some holy place which is called Dharmakshetra. Tirupati Dharmakshetra, or whatever, like that. And Dharmakshetra. So at such a place, Samaveta means, can you see the word-to-word meaning? What's the word-to-word meaning? Prabhupada is here. Samaveta.
Assembled.
Assembled, gathered. Samaveta. Like we say, Samaveta Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. We say, right? All glories to assembled devotees. We say, right? It comes from this word. So, Samaveta, Yuyutsavaha, they are all eager to fight, and they have gathered there to fight. Two sides. Who are they? Mamaka, my people, my sons, and Pandava, those sons of Pandus. They have gathered there to fight. Kima Kurvata, what happened? So strange. people have gathered to fight, why will someone ask what happened? They will surely fight now. Like suppose someone sat in front of prasadam plate. Surely eat prasadam, right? So why is such a question being made? Kima kuruvata Sanjaya? It looks like a redundant question. I mean, it's not an important question. Like it looks like that, but there is a very deep meaning for it. Please read translation, Mataji, please. Who was reading? Please read.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, yes.
Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do?
I request others to quite please remove quite mute. Okay. Yeah. So Dhritarashtra said, "O Sanjaya, after my sons and sons of Pandu, so very, very clear, my sons and sons of Pandu. You might have heard this, remember this, that Dhritarashtra is separating out. Some people are his sons, some people are sons of his brother. Pandu is his brother. His brother's sons, he is keeping them as like enemies of his sons. So Prabhupada gives a very interesting introduction. Please read the highlighted part, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Bhagavad-gita is the widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya, glorification of the Gita. There it says that one should read Bhagavad-gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations.
So Prabhupada is saying one should read Gita from a devotee. One should read it scrutinizingly. What's this meaning? Scrutinizingly mean?
Very deeply, each and every minute thing focusing on.
Yeah, scrutinizing. So do not be, when we are studying in Bhakti Shastri, we are going to some details. So please do not harbor some laziness in following it up. Oh, I think this is not required. Oh no, Prabhupada's instruction is there here. See, one should read Gita scrutinizingly. So hear it from Parampara. Srila Prabhupada is giving such wonderful explanation. So when we are reading Gita, we are hearing from Prabhupada. So without personally motivated interpretation. So Prabhupada so many times has told that the people who use Gita for their message, they are actually not the true givers of knowledge. So better they write some other book than misuse the Gita. Bhagavad-gita's purpose is told by Parampara properly. So Prabhupada will say, one will find in Gita what is there in all other scriptures. It is the sum of all other scriptures. But the reader will also find things which are not found elsewhere. Means you will get some bonus. It is the sum and it is the bonus. Like sometimes we say this word samam bonum. Have you heard this? Samam bonum. I think it's a Greek or Latin word. Have you heard this? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji, heard about this. Heard the word.
So sometimes Prabhupada uses that word. Samam bonam. Bhagavad-gita is a samam bonum of Vedic knowledge. Not like that. So one will find everything which is there in the proper scriptures, Vedic scriptures, and one will find something which is not there in any other scripture, including other Vedic scriptures. That is the specific standard of Gita, because it's spoken by Krishna himself. It's the perfect theistic science. So it tells about God, God's nature, everything. So we have famously known this already, that Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya are speaking. They are speaking about what happened on the battlefield. So as I was telling earlier, why was this question made? That Dhritarashtra is asking, what did they do? They have gathered, so much efforts were done to stop them from fighting. Duryodhana so much wanted the battle and put an end to the existence of Pandavas. So now he wants to fight. So everyone have gathered, they surely fought. So what did they do is, if the question was who won, that would have made sense, right? But he is asking, what did they do? Why is that a question? So for that, Prabhupada here says, Mataji, please read this. So he
was confident that both his sons and the sons of his younger brother Pandu were assembled in that field of Kurukshetra for a determined engagement of the war. Still, his inquiry is significant. He did not want a compromise between the cousins and brothers, and he wanted to be sure of the fate of his sons on the battlefield. Because the battle was arranged to be fought at Kurukshetra, which is mentioned elsewhere in the Vedas as a place of worship, even for the denizens of heaven, Dhritarashtra became very fearful about the influence of the holy place on the outcome of the battle. He knew very well that this would influence Arjuna and the sons of Pandu favorably, because by nature they were all
virtuous. So it is a very famous known fact. Everyone accepted it that the Pandavas were virtuous. They were the followers of Dharma. They never crossed Dharma. Even when they were tested so badly, they never forgo Dharma. So if they have gathered at a place where Dharma is favored, Dharma Kshetra, then there they will have an advantage, right? Like sometimes in cricket, they say home ground advantage. If one is playing at the place where one has that favors him, basically, he has practiced, he knows that kshetra very well, then surely he will be victorious. And sometimes the speciality of dharma kshetras are such that sometimes people who are sinful by nature, when they visit dharma kshetras, they will develop some religious feelings. People, when they come to the temples or holy places, they want to also, offer pranams, give some charity, and they sit there, it's nice. They sometimes claps hand. Very good, very good. So they say some good words about devotees. Otherwise, they would not have said. So, what if the minds of my sons are irreligious? Everyone knows it. So if their mind changes, if they make a truce, that I don't want to happen. Very, very interesting. Dhritarashtra, more than Duryodhana, wanted the battle to happen. Duryodhana is an active villain. I told this earlier also. But Dhritarashtra is a passive villain. Very difficult to trace out the passive villain. He is in fact favoring Duryodhana. Sometimes he doesn't say it, but his heart is always towards Duryodhana. So, through his sons, he could not enjoy the world. He could not enjoy the kingdom. But through his sons, he wants to enjoy, even if it costs their life. This is the extent to which Dhritarashtra was attached. The very meaning of the word also says that Dhrita, Rashtra, very attached to Rashtra, very attached to the kingdom position of being king or like that. So this character, Dhritarashtra, is told in Srimad Bhagavatam more detailedly. Vidura Mahatma comes at the end of his life and he preaches him strongly, trying to send him out of his, give escape velocity. In science, you have escape velocity. You eject him out of the orbit of material attachment. You send him out, and then he was made to realize the nature of the world. That was by the grace of Vidura. Otherwise, he was very, very attached. So this Dhritarashtra, he had this doubt. Hope my sons did not make a truce. They did not give away the kingdom. No. I want them to enjoy. I want to enjoy through them. This is what is his consciousness. Prabhupada also mentions that how Sanjaya got this special ability. Because of the mercy of Vyasa, Sanjaya was able to see everything which was happening in the battlefield of Kurukshetra live. He relayed it as it is to Dhritarashtra. So the Sanjaya, very pious, virtuous, in fact a devotee of the Lord, he knew the state of heart of Dhritarashtra. He is wanting to awaken some knowledge, some conscience, some jagrita, he wants to give him by proper knowledge. So sometimes he will address his consciousness or mentality. So this particular shloka discloses the mind of Dhritarashtra. Both Pandavas and Kauravas. Kauravas actually, Pandavas also are Kauravas. Everyone is a Kaurava, Kuru Vansha. But the sons of Dhritarashtra were called as Kauravas because Dhritarashtra wanted them to inherit the kingdom, not Pandavas. So it was a very hidden desire of Dhritarashtra. He did not accept what was ordained for him. So he took care of Pandavas as an obligation, but his inside heart was to somehow end these Pandavas and make his sons the actual king. So Prabhupada, actually Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, gives a very important example to explain the situation of the battlefield. The whole battlefield, it's like a agricultural field. The Kurukshetra is like a Krushi Kshetra. Krushi means agriculture. Just like you have in the farm, some things grow which are productive, which are desired, like say paddy, rice. I think Andhra produces a lot of rice. So sometimes there are weeds which need to be taken out. In this kshetra of this Kurukshetra, there are paddy-like people, there are weeds-like people. So Prabhupada says in this particular, Mataji, can you read this? As in the paddy field.
Yes, Prabhupada. As in the paddy field, the unnecessary plants are taken out, so it is expected from the very beginning of these topics that in the religious field of Kurukshetra, where the father of religion, Sri Krishna, was present, the unwanted plants like Dhritarashtra's son, Duryodhana, and others would be wiped out, and the thoroughly religious persons, headed by Yudhishthira, would be established by the Lord.
This is the significance.
This is the significance of the words Dharma Kshetre and Kurukshetre, apart from their historical and Vedic importance. Surrender unto me.
So, this is the guide actually, surrender unto me, guide, the link for it. So, Prabhupada, he quotes Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and he gives this example. In the battlefield, which is like a paddy field, there are some things which have to be favored. In this world, when dharma is favored, then there is a good facility for the people, for the jivas of this world to practice spiritual culture. That's why dharma has to be maintained. That is the effort of Krishna. See, though dharma is like an external social arrangement, which is related to this world, but nonetheless, it favors spiritual culture. Yes. So, dharma which is based on Shastras, dharma means it's based on Shastras. Here, dharma means the social arrangement, not exactly the Sanatana dharma which we saw earlier. So, that has to be favored. So, Krishna again and again comes to establish dharma. It's a material arrangement which is very favorable for spiritual growth. So, that's why Krishna says that whenever there is dharmasya glani, I come. What is that? Yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata. Abhyuthanam. Adharma, whenever it increases, when dharma decreases, then I come. Then I establish dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami. So Krishna, he wants to arrange. He wants his devotees to arrange. So through Arjuna, he is making this happen. He is removing the weed like this adharmi people. Sometimes this question is, oh, Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, Karna, these are all look like very charitable people. No, why not they be the king? Why Pandavas they can leave, right? What's the problem? Why so much of bloodshed? No, Krishna is more concerned about the broader welfare, the welfare for the whole world. If Duryodhana, he can be let be the king. Imagine what he did to a royal lady. What will happen to the common populace? Can you imagine? So Krishna really wants to ensure that dharma is established. That's why Yudhishthira sometime would get this thought, I think I should leave everything. But Krishna, no, Yudhishthira, how could, he wanted the most dharmic person to be the emperor. And so like this, it is the desire of Lord Krishna. So he is compared to the farmer who plucks out. Like he is the father of the religion. So that's the analogy given. So please remember, certain analogies are very important. I will show them separately as slide because they are important for your exams too. So please mark them. So after this, Dhritarashtra asks, Sanjaya replies. Yeah, one more thing to say. Sometimes people say this whole battlefield of Kurukshetra, all this is allegorical. Have you heard this word, allegorical? Any of you can explain? Allegorical means symbolic. Symbolic means they say actually it is not which has happened. It is just an imagination. It's a nice comparison. The Kurukshetra is like our heart. The battlefield is our heart. The enemies are our anarthas. The five senses are the five horses. Krishna is like the buddhi. Arjuna is the atma. We should use buddhi, Krishna, to win the battle and win over the anarthas. Very nice. But it's a very good analogy. Nice, no problem. But do not say that Bhagavad-Gita is imagination. It is a history. There are certain sections where our acharyas do give a meaning, which is called actually indirect meaning. But when the meanings are so direct, mukhya vritti, it is called in Shastras, then the gauna vritti or indirect meaning should not be given prominence. So such shlokas will come in Gita where such indirect meaning is taken. That place we will discuss about it. But Bhagavad Gita is a historical account. It did happen, and one should accept it as history. The point. So Dhritarashtra asked the question. So what did Sanjaya say? Text number 2. Sanjaya uvacha.
Sanjaya uvacha.
Drushtva tu pandavanīkam.
Pandavanikam.
Vyudham duryodhanastada. Acharyam upasangamya.
Acharyam upasangamya.
Raja vachanam abravit. Sanjaya is saying, what did he say? Drushtva, seeing Pandavanikam, the Sena of Pandavas, Vyudham, Vyudham means arrangement of Pandavas. Like, there is several arrangements in the battle. There are arrangements of chakra, spear, trishula, like this, many different days, different arrangements were made, formations, vyuhas or vyudhas. So seeing the arrangement of the Pandavas army, Duryodhanas tada, he, Duryodhana, went to his acharya. Who is his acharya?
Dronacharya.
Correct. He went near to his acharya, upasangamya. Then Raja vachanam abravit. He spoke something. Now here interesting. What does vachana mean?
Saying.
Abravit also means saying. Vachanam also means saying. How it is Duryodhan, he went near his teacher and he gave his lecture. He spoke his lecture. How is this? In contrast, see this another one. Duryodhan went to his teacher and spoke. In the first statement, Duryodhan went to his teacher and he spoke his lecture. Are you finding a difference? don't know whether you could get it. Hare Krishna.
Can you repeat that, Prabhu?
Okay, the first thing is the Duryodhan went to his teacher Drona and he spoke his lecture. The second is Duryodhan went to his teacher and he spoke. Any difference?
If he generally spoke, means it's
One
anything
is
that
taking
any general
lecture.
matter.
One is lecturing, one
And
is
the other one is general talking.
So there are
And one is
two words
actually
here.
giving instructions here.
That's the point. He is speaking to his guru something so instructive. He is giving, see, two words are used. You can say now, uvacha, enough, or abravit, enough. But two words are used by Sanjaya here to very rhetorically or sarcastically or very, in Sanskrit it's called vyangya, indirectly taunt, you understand taunt? He wants to say the attitude of Duryodhana while saying this. Very interesting. So Sanjaya says, read the translation, Mataji. Who was reading, please?
Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words.
The following words. So Prabhupada tells a little about Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra. Read it.
Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure that they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, and Sanjaya could understand his motive in asking about the situation on the battlefield.
So Sanjaya, he knows the heart or the thoughts of his master, that is Duryodhana. That's the point here made. No? Duryodhana is blind and his sons are also equally blind. Prabhupada makes it very nice. If you see carefully, there is a word called Raja. Do you hear any time coronation of Dhritarashtra or Duryodhana? Rajyabhishek? Were they made kings?
No.
No, Prabhu. Why is the Raja being addressed here? That's also sarcastic. Sarcastic means indirectly saying something. Oh, you are Raja. Oh, who made you Raja? You're Raja. You're king. Duryodhana is the king. No one made him Raja. He was self-declared. He wanted to be the king. That's the point. So he is the Raja. But at the same time, in a battle, he has to hear to the commander-in-chief, Senadhipati. So he is going, Prabhupada says, he is a very good politician. He wants to go and ensure that his Senadhipati, Senapati is well informed. Actually, Drona and Bhishma are the important people. So he is very good politician. You can learn nice lessons from Duryodhana. Very good lessons. Of what? Of politics. Yeah, very good. He knew how to have people, appease people, and ensure that they cooperate in his plan, like that. Actually, Duryodhan will now onwards speak very interesting words. Before the battle begins, it is told that one can change sides. So what Duryodhan is doing, he is ensuring that his people don't leave. Especially there are some people who have their heart towards Pandavas. They are almost there only. They are, their heart is there only. They have told, I will not kill any Pandava. They have told also, you will not be victorious, oh Duryodhan. They have told it very verbally. So he wants to ensure that these people should not go that side. So he's going to use very nice, very double meaning words, which come from here, third shloka. So from third shloka, Dhritarashtra is going to speak. So what we are hearing is Duryodhana is going to speak. So Duryodhana's words in Gita, which come actually for around some 3-4 shlokas. So Duryodhana Vaja. Pashyaitam Panduputranam
Pasyaitam
Panduputrana
Acharya Mahatim Chamom
Acharya Mahatim Chamam
Yudham Drupada Putrena
Yudham Supradaputrena
Tava Shishyena Dhimata.
Navashishyena Dhimata.
Pashya, see, when you say someone, hey, see, what does it mean? Oh, there is some danger, or there is something striking, some emergency. He's saying, see, what is he wanting to show? Panduputranam, all the sons of Pandus, their big army, Chamom, Mahati, hey, Acharya. Whom is he speaking to? Whom is he speaking to?
Dronacharya.
Acharya. Acharya, he's saying to Acharya, Dronacharya. So he's telling, hey, Pandu's sons, their arrangement is made by very special person. And he doesn't tell the name of that person. Very interesting. He says his father's name, Drupada Putrena. And he says, oh, that person is your Shishya. He is your Shishya. He is son of Drupada. What's the relationship of Drupada and Drona?
They were friends.
Enemies.
They are enemies now. They were friends, but they
Initially.
are enemies now, arch enemies. So much so that Drupada he did a whole yajna to get someone to kill Drona. Right? So he's addressing, you gave, it's your Shishya who is there on the other side, who is the son of your enemy, who was born to kill you. You're so intelligent, Drona. You're so intelligent that you gave all knowledge to him, and he is on the other side ready to fight and kill you. So intelligent person you are. Mataji, please read. Oh, my teacher.
O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada.
So Drupada, Prabhupada gives that history in this particular purport. So we'll read this purport today. We will end with this last purport. So Prabhupada points out the attitude of Duryodhana towards his teacher. Very first line only he says, he wants to point out the defects of Dronacharya, a great Brahmana commander. He wants to show the fault in the Guru. So that's the attitude he has. Mataji, read this whole purpose. Dronacharya had
Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupada, the father of Draupadi, who was Arjuna's wife. As a result of this quarrel, Drupada performed a great sacrifice by which he received the benediction of having a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew this perfectly well, and yet as a liberal Brahmana, he did not hesitate to impart all his military secrets when the son of Drupada, Drishtadyumna, was entrusted to him for military education. Now on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Drishtadyumna took the sides of Pandavas, and it was he who arranged for their military phalanx after having learned the art from Dronacharya. Duryodhana pointed out this mistake of Dronacharya's so that he might be alert and uncompromising in the fighting. By this, he wanted to point out all that he should not be similarly lenient in battle against the Pandavas, who were also Dronacharya's affectionate students. Arjuna, especially, was his most affectionate and brilliant student. Duryodhana also warned that such leniency in the fight would lead to defeat.
So Duryodhana doesn't want his teacher to repeat what he considers mistakes. Actually, it's not mistake. It's the quality of a Brahmana that he knows that, oh, this person is going to kill me, but he is deserving the knowledge. I will give the knowledge. That's the quality of a Brahmana. He is such a great lover of knowledge. If there is a fit person to receive the knowledge, he will give. Sometimes people object, oh, Drona did not give knowledge to Ekalavya. Are Drona gave to Drupad. See, he gave someone who will be killing him. Sometimes people object, oh, Dronacharya is so partial, you see. No, that's not the point. He saw qualification in Drupada. He was a Kshatriya. He had that necessary ability and qualification of able to rule the world. But Eklavya was not qualified in that case. He in fact employed a duplicitous means to take the knowledge. So he was not given the knowledge. So one should observe this. So Duryodhana, he doesn't see this as good quality. He sees that as defect. Oh, you did it earlier. Don't repeat it. You are already affectionate to Pandavas. Do not repeat that. You do not favor your most favorite student Arjuna. He's standing there. Fight full force. Do not be lenient, because it will be costing us a lot. It will be defeat for us. So like this, Duryodhana, very, very political, amazingly manipulative, how he encourages all sides of people, we will see this in this first few verses. We will continue this in the next session. Today we will end it here. So today we saw an introduction to the first chapter. We saw the broad sections, and we have just started the first 3 shlokas we completed today. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you put on that reference slide on the again? The reference slide.
Sections.
The reference slide you put in the first slide. The reference.
Reference books, Prabhu.
Oh, preference book. Sorry. Reference. I was thinking I was not. Yeah. So you will find this in surely in Hyderabad. You will find Hyderabad temple. Gita Bhushana Sarartha Varshini. So have one of the guidebooks, I would say. Do not become confused in them. But I'm showing everything because right now you are doing first level of study. Surely you all have studied. I'm not saying here first time. But a first level of study of Gita means a chronological study of Gita, sequential study of Gita, understanding where is what, why it flows the way it flows, understanding its flow and the essential places of different discussions is what we learn in this first level of study, which is Bhakti Shastri. But when you do a second level of study, which everyone should do, Prabhupada wanted it, not just close the book after Bhakti Shastri. But when you do the second level, then you should go with much more with these guidebooks, with these commentaries, dive deeper and deeper like that. So very, very helpful these are. So I am referring to Gita Bhushana and Surrender Unto Me and other 2 books also. So when I am presenting here some things. Any comment or questions? Hare Krishna. So all of you are able to follow? Is it slow enough, or is it too fast? Or
No, I think it's good pace, Prabhuji.
Okay. We will pick a little more pace, but wherever philosophy is there, we will slow. Okay. Thank you. Today is Srila Prabhupada's appearance day, remembering Srila Prabhupada today. His amazing contributions. So all of you should all of you are doing so much services. I request all of you to express it in words, write your own Vyasa Puja offerings to Srila Prabhupada and a wonderful celebration of his mercy. So we will meet Monday, Prabhu, Dasrash Prabhu. Is he there? Hare Krishna. He had told me that Monday we will have, and next class we will not have. He will come. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.